Okay, so finally, this will be our last meeting for this course. Tomorrow is the last day of classes for the second semester. And I suppose we should all be proud of ourselves for surviving this academic year. And particularly kayo din for doing 173 the whole year instead of just one semester. Okay. So, tawag dito, alam ko na medyo mahirap para sa iba na yung course ay yung laboratory course ay kinundak online and using MATLAB. But had we done it tawag dito, the way I intended it to na magpapadala ng mga gamit sa inyo tapos gagawin yung experiment sa bahay, that would have made things worse kasi I just learned or actually na nung April ko lang nalaman na nagdatingan yung mga gamit. So which meant na tawag dito, kung talagang gagawa kayo ng actual na experiments at pinadala sa inyo yun, baka may na kayo makagawa na experiments at naghahabol kayo ngayon. So, I also understand, of course, yung difficulty sa paggamit ng MATLAB and buti na lang at nagawa natin ang paraan kahit papano, at least for most of you. But I hope yung iba yung mga klase ay ma-figure out din kung paano makahabol dun sa courses, sa requirements ng course. In any case, tapos na tayo. Tapos na kayo, most of you ay tapos na sa mga requirements. Yung iba sa inyo tinatapos na siguro yung exam from the first semester, yung lectures. Pero ngayon, discuss natin yung last part, ng last experiment, essentially. So, ito na siguro yung isa sa mga pinakamadaling experiments na ginawa ninyo on your own without any assistance from myself. So, this experiment is about operational amplifiers and ang gagawin nyo lang is i-build nyo lang yung apat na circuits. And of course, nasagutan yung mga tanong. And I hope na hindi naman kayo nahirapan dun sa pag-build ng circuits because when I was doing it, I found that medyo madali lang din gawin. And yun, I hope na hindi rin kayo nahirapan. And yung mga tanong also are quite easy. Yung theory is also quite easy. So, yun yung, so medyo hopefully madali lang yung experiment na ito sa inyo. Okay, so let's go to the first part. Yung first part ay non-inverting amplifier. So you should have built a circuit which looks something like this. Okay, so we have a 50 millivolt source na 1 kilohertz yung ang tawag dito, yung frequency. And then dun sa non-inverting input ng operational amplifier, you have yung feedback resistor which is 10 kilo ohms and nandun din yung 1 kilo ohm na resistor which is connected to ground. And yung input dun sa inverting, baliktad, ito yung non-inverting input. So dun sa non-inverting input, nandun yung 50 millivolts. And then sa inverting na input, nandito yung feedback at saka yung 1 kilo ohm na resistor. Okay, so in this circuit, we're comparing yung input against yung output. Okay, and since tawag dito, ang in-expect natin dito is an output of 11 times greater kumpara dito sa input na 50 millivolts. So that's about 550 millivolts. Okay, paano natin laman yon? Kasi theoretically, yung gain is given by 1 plus yung feedback resistor divided by yung input resistance. Okay, so in this case, ang feedback is 10 kilo ohm, ang output, ang input ay 1 kilo ohm. So this is 10 and then plus 1. So that's 11. So meron kang gain na 11. So kung input mo ay 50 millivolts, multiply that by 11, then your output should be about 550 millivolts. So makikita natin dito sa graph. Okay, so makikita natin dito sa graph, okay, na so kung titignan niyo itong yellow na dot, ang yellow na dot ay yung 1. So ibig sabihin it's about 50 millivolts. And then yung blue na dot ay yung 2, which is about 550 millivolts. So makikita natin na merong gain na 11, or yung ratio between this and that is 11 times, which is yung ina-expect natin na gain. So that's pretty straightforward. Okay, then next naman ay yung inverting amplifier, inverting operational amplifier. So ang circuit na yun is given by this. So yung input, yung source na 50 millivolts, 1 kilohertz, ay feed ngayon dun sa input resistance na konektado dun sa inverting na input. Okay, nandoon din yung feedback resistor mo dun sa inverting na input. At yung inverting na input ay connected to ground. Okay, so ang measurement natin ngayon ng tawag dito ng output tsaka input, okay, in terms of the gain is just about 10 times. Okay, pero merong inversion. Okay, so sa sign. Okay, so makikita natin yun dito. So ang gain for this inverting operational amplifier circuit is minus the feedback resistor divided by the input resistance. So in this case, it's 10. So minus 10 yung ating gain. And what this minus sign does is kinukuha niya yung negative ng input na signal. So if the input signal has this, ang amplitude niya is 50 millivolts. Ang output na signal ninyo has a magnitude of 500 millivolts, okay, which yung gain na 10. Pero yung negative sign, tawag dito, inverts yung, ang tawag dito, yung sine wave. Okay, but it's also similar to shifting this whole sine wave by 180 degrees. So, merong phase shift na 180 degrees. Okay. Next ay yung integrator. So dito naman sa integrator, meron tayong square wave na input. Okay, so ito yung mag-generate ng square wave na input. Okay, tapos ang circuit na yon, ang integrator is nothing but the same, it's the same as the inverting amplifier circuit, except na papalitan mo yung feedback resistor ng capacitor circuit. Ng capacitor. Okay, so may capacitor tayo dito na 10 nanofarad, and then yung input natin na resistor is 10 kilo ohms. At doon nakakonect yung source. Okay, so ang output natin is measured across between the output terminal at saka ground. Okay, and then yung input natin is of course measured against or across this square wave. Okay, so ang square wave na ginawa natin is negative 1 to 1 amplitude. At ang in-expect natin gain dito is given by this equation. Negative dt over RC. Ang R natin is 10 kilo ohms, ang C is 10 nanofarad, so this is about 100 times 10 to the minus 6 milliseconds, seconds, sorry. 100 times 10 to the 6 seconds. And then yung dt natin is 0.5. If we're considering from here to there, yung dt natin is 0.5. So ang gain in that case is negative 5. So makikita natin yung dito. So ang voltage dito is negative 1. From here to there, it's negative 1. So multiply natin ito ngayon by negative 5. So meron tayong 5 volts dyan. And then syempre may negative sign kayo dyan. So magiging positive. So 0 to positive 5. Okay, pag nandito naman tayo sa cycle na ito, so from 0.5 millivolts din yung dt. Okay, so in this case, ang voltage is 1. Ngayon, relative to this, it's negative 5, diba? So from there, oops, sorry. From there to there, it's a negative 5 volts, okay? Negative 5 volts. Tapos, oops. Okay, negative 5 volts. So kaya ganito yung itsura ng ating output, okay? So that's pretty straightforward. Okay, now let's go to the fourth circuit. In this fourth circuit, meron tayong input na ang buong input natin actually ay itong integrator, okay, at saka itong source, okay? And that serves as the input to the differentiator. Okay, so of course ang ina-expect natin is after ma-integrate natin yung input signal dito at pag differentiate natin ulit, babalik tayo sa original na signal. Okay, so dito sa circuit na ito, I have three probes. So one dun sa main input, second dun sa integrator, and then third dun sa differentiator. Okay, now if we take a look at the graph, okay, we have this. So yung kulay orange dyan na makapal, yan yung input dun sa main source. And then itong blue, yan yung output dun sa integrator. And then yung mga dilaw dito ay yung output dun sa differentiator. And you see na ano tawag dito, differentiating the integrated signal, we get back to the original signal. Okay. So mataas yung accuracy ng ano natin nung measurement. Okay? How do we do that? How do we explain this theoretically? So gain is given by RC over DT times -1. So in this case, we have a gain of -1/5 if we consider yung delta T as 0.5 milliseconds. Okay, so that's straightforward naman. I hope na yan yung mga nakuha niyong sagot. Okay, and if we just quickly breeze through yung yung questions. Okay, just to cover, okay, all bases. So ang questions natin dito ay with the given parameters, okay, so nasagot na natin yan. What is the phase shift? Dito ang phase shift is 0. Is this expected? Yes. Okay, nakita natin kasi na positive yung positive yung gain for the non-inverting amplifier. What about for the inverting amplifier? What is the phase shift? Ang phase shift dito is 180 degrees, and that's because of the negative sign. Okay, integrator. Okay, kita natin na it's very accurate, and then differentiator, how accurate? It's also very accurate as you saw. And what are the possible sources of error? In this particular experiment, walang gaanong error. Our results are pretty accurate. Okay, and if you actually do yung experiments sa tunay na buhay, you'll find na yung error is mostly due to yung tolerance nung anong tawag dito, nung resistor, and then of course yung internal resistance ng capacitor, and so on and so forth. Something that you can also explain when you compare yung theory at saka yung experimental results. Okay, so that's it for Physics 173. Ang masasabi ko lang for now is inuuna ko actually checkan yung tawag dito, ibang courses. So meron akong Physics 100 at saka Physics 121. So inuuna ko muna yung sa kanila kasi ang tawag dito, mas kailangan nilang malaman kung magpa-final sila o hindi. Pero kayo, alam nyo naman na hindi na kayo magpa-finals. Ito na yung actually yung last na requirement. So ang ginagawa nyo na lang is naghihintay na lang kayo ng grade. So yun ang sana maintindihan nyo na unahin ko muna sila kasi gusto nilang malaman kung magpa-final sila o hindi. Okay, so in other words, I am hoping that you'll get responses from me in about a week just before yung deadline ng submission of grades. Okay? So, ang deadline ng submission of grade is June 28. So, just a week after that. Just a week before that, hopefully makapagbigay na ako ng feedback regarding dun sa inyong grades. Okay, so any questions? So, congratulations sa inyong lahat. Kape lang itong iniinom ko pero congrats sa inyo at natapos nyo na yung course na ito sa wakas. Yan. So, for the next semester, fortunately for them, medyo set na yung gagawin sa Physics 173. So mukhang isang semester lang sila. Dun sa kayo lang talaga yung medyo napahirapan dito sa na ito. Sa conduct ng course na ito. Pero hopefully hindi siya ganun komplikado. So, any questions? Okay, so wala na kayong tanong. Kung wala na kayong tanong, I think may mga iba pa na magpapakonsult regarding sa thesis. So, sige. Kung wala na kayong tanong, yung mga wala nang gusto ipakonsult, just send me an email kung may iba kayong concerns. Okay, so congratulations and hopefully matapos nyo na rin yung ibang requirements ninyo and then hopefully ma-enjoy nyo rin yung inyong vacation despite yung circumstances. Okay? Thank you for coming. Thank you then.